Yo, what's going on, people? It's episode 2 here of the Ajay Rose Show. Big up everyone that tuned in to episode 1. I got some email today. It was like the podcast has ranked in a chart. I thought, yeah, like what chart? And I checked it. It's like, yeah, you're number 197 in the comedy interviews chart. So it's quite niche, but big up all 6 listeners that tuned in to get me to that point. It means a lot. Big up everyone listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. I haven't put it on Amazon yet, so apologies for the Amazon lot. But yeah, thank you for the support on episode 1. Today we're going to bring you episode 2. Today's guest is very funny comedian, and for some reason that bothers me a lot, my mum's favourite comedian. It's none other than Dinesh Nathan.
What's happening, mate?
What are you saying, Dinesh?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Well done on the ranking, mate.
Oh, mate.
Just saying now, I listen to this podcast on 6 different platforms, so I've really got you there.
That's why I brought him on. When he told me he's signing up to loads of Spotify accounts, I was like, yeah, episode 2.
Yeah, that's you.
That's you, bro.
I'm not only your guest, I'm your fan base as well, so yeah.
Literally, you're carrying this podcast. Like, maybe you should go to A&E, check if your back's all right, 'cause you are carrying this.
Yeah.
So, you know, I
Thanks for
mentioned...
having me, mate.
No, it's cool. I said my mum's favourite comedian. So I met Dinesh on BBC New Comedy Awards, yeah? Obviously, I'm Indian. I know I don't look it. Just for anyone a bit surprised, like, yo, I thought he was Turkish. I'm not Turkish. I'm Indian. Obviously, I met Dinesh at BBC New Comedy Awards. That was on BBC, obviously. And then I showed it to my mum, yeah? I was gassed. I was like, yeah, check this out, mum. What do you think of it, innit? And that was me being like, I wanted I wanted approval. I didn't get it. I was like, I showed it to my mum. And I was like, yeah, mum, like, what do you think? You think I've done well? She's like, yeah, you were good, but you see the guy after you, he was probably the best.
Wow, amazing.
And then when I told her I'm coming here today, she's like, oh, tell him I said hello. And I'm like, what do you want him to do with that information? Like,
Yeah, we'll definitely say hello back, mate. Yeah.
and that's it. End of interaction. So, are you happy, mum? He greeted you back. I'll get you a discount code when he goes on tour.
Oh,
But yeah.
Mate, it was as great as it was exactly the same in my house. Like my mum, well, not exactly the same. But I showed my mum, and she's like, "Your head is very shiny," and I was like, "Thanks very much, mum. That's good. Focus on the jokes, please." Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. So that's how me and Dinesh met at that That's how me and Dinesh met at that BBC gig. So let's throw things back. Like, how long have you been doing comedy for?
I've been going about 6 years, something like that. Obviously through lockdown as well, which was, you know, a shit period because I did loads of Zoom gigs, which were. Did you do any Zoom gigs?
No, I started after that, so thankfully.
Oh, right. Yeah, they were shit. They were so bad, mate. They were so bad.
I done acting classes on Zoom though.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
You know what? Like, I'm be real. I done an acting class on Zoom.
Yeah.
And I thought I was a good actor because on Zoom, yeah, it's like you can kind of like do a scene on Zoom.
Yeah.
Because the hard thing about acting is when you got to do it in a whole room of people, innit?
Yeah.
So when it's just you in like on your sofa, like doing some weird scene and you're smashing it, it's easy. Then you go to a real life acting class. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, it turns out not that good at acting.
Easier on Zoom. I thought it'd be the other way around, to be honest with you. I feel like a dickhead just looking at the screen. And
it felt easy because it weren't real, basically.
Yeah,
because it's on Zoom.
Yeah, I suppose.
So, like, did you find that with Zoom where it's like it's not, it's like it's a half measure kind of thing?
Yeah, with the gigs, I didn't really because there's no connection. Like, you know, when they first started doing them, they didn't have, you know, you haven't got laughter coming back because like they muted all their mics. So it's essentially like a presentation. And then they started doing like front rows where they put like 10 mics on so you could hear some people laughing. But like, I did a corporate, right? And it was basically, I don't know who, I can't remember who booked it, but I ended up on this corporate thing. And I got onto the Zoom call and there was no one on it, right? So I started texting the promoter, where is everyone? And she said, oh, they're having a drink in another like room or something, or doing something else, but they'll be on in a minute. So they started coming on and this manager bloke just starts talking to me, going, hello, mate, how are you? You're right. Oh, yeah, so you're a comedian. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, do you want to just like, do you do you want to do it now? Tell some jokes. And so I did 20 minutes, right? I watched someone pick up a fucking phone. Someone was obviously looked at it and gone, I couldn't listen to this comedian or work, and they chose work, right? So they answered the phone during it, and at the end of it, he goes, so what does everyone think? And I went, nope, just shut the laptop off. I'm not listening to that. So it was horrible, mate. Soul destroyed, yeah.
I'm glad I started.
After that.
Yeah, definitely glad.
Yeah,
like
for
after
sure.
that, so like, what made you want? Obviously, this is one question people ask me a lot, yeah, and I feel for me the answer's a bit like, well, people would just say I'm funny, innit?
Yeah.
And I thought,
Yeah.
and I like writing, so I
Yeah.
thought, why not give it a try? Why'd you start?
I always thought about doing it. Like, obviously, my brother was doing it for years, and I used to go to loads of gigs with him and that. And I was always like, I need to want to have a go. But I was like working, I was training, doing something else at the time. And then finally, I started running my own gigs, and I was like watching comedians and that, and like for the most part, I was like, shit, I could never do this because there was, I got loads of great comedians through. And then part of me was like, I really want to have a go. And then I was like, I was writing material, and then I was never having the bollocks to like have a go. And then finally, I was like, nah, fuck it, I'm gonna have my first gig. And then,
Do you remember the first jokes? Do you remember the first jokes that you wrote? Because I remember the first time I wrote a set, yeah, it was awful. Like I when I first wrote it, it was all this like hack shit, just bare hack like material about like, I can't even remember, but it was so embarrassing that I just looked at it and I was like, I can't go in a room full of people and say this. So I had to write some better shit.
Yeah.
Some of that was crap as well, but luckily there was some good bits in it.
Yeah.
Like, was your first set, was it crap?
when I wrote,
Not in an
no,
offensive
not at
way.
all. No, not at all. But like when I first started writing material, like because you watch comedians and you think, oh, they're just talking. So mine was just waffle. There was no punchlines or nothing. So I just go through it. And like when I started actually trying to write actual gags or recognise what a setup and a punchline was properly, they were still shit, but at least there was structure. Do you know what I mean? And then you go through that. But like ultimately, I remember when I first started, my brother was like, just remember that when you start, you're shit. That's just that's the summary of it. You just got to deal with it. And it's just some people will grind and go, okay, I recognise. I think the problem some people have is that I think you need like a comedy radar, right? Some people, that's what I call it anyway, but a few people like sort of probably say that. But like they don't recognise like when they're dying. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't. Some people come off stage to silence and go, "Well, I think that went really well." And you go, "Did you?" Like, but but luckily, I was so critical of everything I did.
Yeah,
like, I'm never happy. I've never come off stage and gone, "Oh, mate, that was perfect." I hate, I just like look back at it and go, "Oh man, I should have done that, or I could have done this." But yeah, the first set was dog shit.
No, I hear you on that because I'm the same in it. It's like I can't think of too many times where, true say, a couple times like the blackout,
Yeah.
it's just gone swimmingly.
Yeah.
You know, them ones just everything's just smashing it.
Yeah.
For context, the blackout, for people that don't know, it's a gong show. A gong show is like a brutal version of X Factor, where if you're shit, they vote you off, innit? But if you're good, it's like the opposite, where they're on like cloud 57, forget cloud 9, like they're loving it. So.
Yeah. I
hear you.
I went to the blackout. When I did the blackout, I watched someone, and obviously I won't name that. Well, I can't even remember.
Name the name, bro.
Yeah, nah, yeah. I can't even remember, to be fair. But
That old chestnut.
it was that. Yeah.
It's Romesh Ranganathan.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I was watching this comedian, and like they put the lights up, or they put the card. Is it a card? I can't remember.
It's free cards.
Free cards.
No,
isn't it?
it's free cards that lead to the light. So if
Three
you put
cards
a
that lead to
card-
the light. Yeah. So this guy was whispering to somebody else, going, "Put your card up." And then they put their card up. And he goes, "Oh, why are you telling them to put your card up?" And the guy just went, "'Cause you're shit." And I was like, fuck, you set yourself up there for that. But yeah, it's brutal, mate. Yeah, brutal.
Yeah, them gong shows, man.
Yeah.
They're really something.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, obviously, like with your jokes, yeah, I was watching some of your sets. I say some of them, one of them, or two of them.
Yeah.
Two that are online I watched.
Yeah.
Going on, like I watched for all like 8 hours of material. I watched 2 5-minute clips, and one of them I was there the first time.
yeah.
So yeah,
Just to see whether you can see yourself.
Yeah.
Just looking over my shoulder. There
I'm
I am. There I am.
But yeah, one thing I noticed is that obviously you make jokes about your kids, yeah.
Yeah.
But bro, do you not ever think like these lot might get older one day, or they might already see it on the internet and shit, and be like, who the fuck is this waste man making all these jokes about me to get laughs? Like, my dad is selling us out for a laugh in a random pub. Like, did that ever cross your mind where your kids might think that?
Well, if the jokes don't work, they don't get fed. So they probably want me to do all right with it, to be fair. No, I do. It has crossed my mind a couple of times, but I don't think I say anything like, it's not like you're questioning their personality or who they are as a person. Do you know what I mean? It's just normally, well, it's specific to my my feelings or opinions on it, but they are just kids. So, I like them. Do you know what I mean? I don't hate them or anything. So, yeah.
They'll do.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. You know what I mean? I like, as much as anyone talks about their kids, they wouldn't change it, but they would still rip the shit out of them. Do you know what I mean? My dad did it to me. Like, why am I going to free them up? Yeah.
I hear that. So you mentioned your dad, yeah, obviously. For context, first time I met Dinesh, yeah, obviously Dinesh is Romesh's brother, yeah, Romesh Ranganathan. And I read both of Romesh's books, innit? So when I met Dinesh, I felt like a fucking creep because I'd read 2 books on this guy. And I'm just rocking up, like, trying to play it cool, like, acting like I had no clue who he was. But secretly I knew, like, yeah, that story, what happened when you were 17, fucking hell, mate. My heart really bled for you then. In Romesh's books, he's got some good stories about when they was growing up and that. And then one of the stories I thought was interesting was, I think it's when your dad died, he owned a pub, yeah?
Yeah.
And then you and Romesh were landlords.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about the time where you were a landlord. What was that like?
That was a forced situation. So, like, because the brewery, essentially it's through a brewery. And when my old man died, they were pushing us to continue running it. And
what, they had no sympathy for the fact your dad had died?
I mean, as a person goes, as the person dealing us the news of this or the suggestions, he was sympathetic to a certain degree, but they were still trying to push us to run this pub. So, to be honest with you, it was a nightmare. It was, you're in this situation. My dad left the whole situation a mess, to be fair. So, like, I love him to death love him to death. Shit, that is not the statement I wanted to say. But, like, I obviously, like, I've got a lot of fond memories of him and I appreciate him. But financially, it was ruins. And we were kind of like torn between 2 things. One, the pub didn't make much money in any case. And it was a scenario where we were forced into doing this, and the pressure of it, of having to do that just caused, stress. It's just, you don't want to do it. The only
how soon after, like, your dad died did you have to just assume this role of, like, landlord?
I can't even remember. Like, weeks. I'm talking weeks. Yeah, I'm talking weeks. Yeah, I used to. Yeah,
it's like when I'm sure Masood had a stint in the Queen Vic.
Yeah.
That's what I'm picturing.
I remember that. Yeah.
Masood was like a temporary landlord.
Yeah. The only reason we wanted to try and continue it is because we'd built really good relationships with the people, the customers. Like, we knew a lot of them, and that was probably the only driver that made me think, let's try and do it. If it's profitable, let's try and do that. But it just wasn't, it just wasn't right. And we were both at the time. I had just I qualified as a pilot, so I just qualified at that period, and so I was looking for work. So I was out of work. My brother was just starting his comedy career, so he was trying to get somewhere and not really getting paid. So it was a nightmare for the both of us. So it just made the whole situation even more stressful. Like, as much we loved, like, when he ran it, it was wicked. It was so much fun. We had lock-ins. It was like, do you know, one of my mates, we had lock-ins because we didn't live above the flat, right? And so it was an empty flat. We all had this lock-in and we all got smashed and we all kipped there the night. And it got like the flat above, because it weren't lived in, like, got so cold, like the windows were drafty and that. And my mate goes, I was so cold. Do you know, in the toilet, there was no, like, there wasn't a bath mat, but there was, the rug around the toilet.
Yeah. Like the
he used that as a blanket for the evening because he was that cold. I was like, oh my God, that's savage, mate.
It's like 10 years of urine.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's warm, but he's got all sorts of diseases now. But yeah, he was warm for the night. Yeah, but it was a mad period. I mean, even like just an Asian landlord is. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit different, but
I can't lie, I don't know any Asian landlord.
That's what I mean, yeah. And they loved him. Like, he got on with all of them, and like, he was a proper joker. And he wanted, to be fair, he just wanted to spend his time in the pub. So he thought the best way to get through, like, figure this out is just owning a pub, and that way I could spend loads of time in there. Yeah.
I've worked in a few places like that. I worked in a bar once, yeah, and the chef, but not even a bar, is like this. You know, I don't want to bait out the details too much. 'Cause my old boss was cool, but done some shady things. Like, I used to roll him zoots. Like, because I don't smoke weed anymore, but I used to back then, and he knew I used to blaze before work, innit?
Yeah.
And I say it was busy. This how you know where his priorities was. It'd be packed. Like, people are like, bare people queuing up, waiting for drinks, and he just turned to me, be like, AJ, take my car keys, go roll me a zoot. And then the worst bit is he'd think he'd be like, roll one for yourself as well, yeah? But the first time he gave me some weed, it was such a small quantity. I was looking at it like, bro, what am I rolling here? Like, this is dust. Like, so when he said roll one for yourself, my equivalent of what a spliff would be like all of his weed.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an anticlimax.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. It's very kind of you. I'll roll half a spliff. That's great.
Yeah, man. But you do. He wasn't alcoholic though. At that same place, there was this chef, yeah. And obviously, the chefs always get like 3 pints, innit?
Yeah.
Like, he used to have me bringing him, like, I don't know, like 8 pints a shift or something, just on the slide. Because I didn't really, it's not for me to question, like, yo, like, you're on pint number 6 and it's like 1 p.m. Like,
mate, my old man was like that. He used to get smashed. Like, and I remember, like, when I first, it was straight after uni. After I graduated, I was working there while I was looking for a job. So I just did a couple of shifts here and there. And he drove me down there, and then we were like, we basically, I did the whole shift, and I go, I better drive us back. And he goes, why? And I said, you had 8 pints. And he goes, I had 2 pints. And I was like, you had 8. And he's like, no, I had 2 pints. And I was like, listen, I served you 8 pints. Like, it's mad that that was just the way he was. He was just mad. But yeah, I found like the old manager was keeping a tab of all the stuff my old man was drinking. When I found it, it had $9 grand on it.
9 grand.
Yeah, I was like, now what this pub ain't making money, man. You know, don't get high off your own supply, man. That's the rule. Like,
what was that? How over what period?
I don't even know how long that was. But
grand.
it was just like, obviously, you know, I mean, I was going to say over a long period, but it was my old man.
A pint? Like, if a pint's a £5, that's like 450 pints.
Yeah, mad, isn't it? So about probably an afternoon, I imagine.
Just one afternoon.
Yeah, it was mental.
That's mad. So obviously we mentioned before, you're Romesh's brother, yeah? Do you ever feel like, what's the word, like, not pressure, but like, or maybe pressure. Do you ever feel the pressure of because obviously Romesh is like super successful in that.
Yeah.
And you do the same thing.
Yeah.
So does that ever come, like when you go to gigs and shit?
Yeah.
Do you feel like, I felt there's not really at gigs, but like I've sometimes walked in situations where it's like, these lot have made a judgment about me after like 5 seconds. Like, does that cross your mind? Like, oh shit,
nah.
They
so
come Romesh's bro, they might.
No, I mean that's why I use Dinesh Nathan as the name, and it's helped because it like you.
Hold on, before you continue, can I just say he's used Dinesh Nathan as if like someone's like when you meet him, you're not going to be able to tell.
Totally, it's like Superman. It's like Clark Kent in his glasses, mate. There's no way
you should have gone with like Daniel Nathan or something like that.
I still use D Ranger as my email address. They'll never know. But yeah, funny enough, not that many people. Like when I first started, obviously I still use the name just so that. And to me, it was like part of it was. Validation to a certain degree. Like I wanted to know I could do it, so I wanted to get gigs off my back. Like I don't, Rom will, you know, I've never asked him to sort me anything out. If I did, I'm sure he would because we're close. But I never want to. In my mind, I'm like, I want to prove that I can do it.
Yeah.
But there will always be, you know, there will always be comparisons, I imagine, and stuff like. But I've been touch wood. I've been lucky enough using the name that people don't really say much.
The alias is working.
It's working, mate. You take the piss, but it's working. Yeah, it's probably the lack of height and hair that probably confuses people into thinking he can't be.
You know what? Like, you say it's working because I heard about you for the first time through one of my friends, and she was like, blah blah blah. Some comedian coming to my work and done a gig in it, and it was Romesh's brother. So I'm like, unless you got a joke addressing your Romesh's brother, she must have put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, quite possibly. Firstly, the fact that we got the same voice, that really fucks me up. That's a real bastard. But for the most part, and even then, I think they're suspecting it more than knowing. Do you know what I mean? And until they look it up afterwards, maybe, or whatever. Because I don't hide it. You know what I mean? I just use that name as a stage name, sort of thing. But like, I've been in car. I was in a car with a comedian who was like, he goes, "Are you?" Actually, I can't say that. Would that be kind of racist? I go, what? And he goes, you don't happen to be Romesh's brother, do you? And I go, yeah. And he goes, woo! That was lucky. That was lucky. That was Ian Sterling, that was. Was it? Yeah. He's hilarious. He's a really lovely bloke. Yeah.
So have you ever, like you said then, like you never like, because I think it's Denzel Washington's son, yeah?
Yeah. He's brilliant, isn't he?
Well, this wasn't really a point about his brilliant acting.
I've never seen him acting on Zoom, though, so he might be killing it.
I'm pretty sure he said, like, yo, like, don't associate with my dad. I'm not trying to use the name. And then everyone was like, bro, associate yourself with Denzel. He's like one of the greatest ever.
Yeah,
Fucking
totally.
associate yourself.
Totally,
like,
yeah.
Have you ever felt like, ooh, maybe I'll ask him for something?
Yeah, well, no. I still don't ask him for anything like that. But I have sat in his kitchen with my wife, and she went, I think our house could fit in this kitchen. And I went, yeah, probably. So I'm asking for something, it's probably money. I mean, like, dude, sort me out. No, I still don't, just because, like, don't get me wrong, he would support in any way that he can, because, you know, we're brothers, but I just wouldn't. I just think, you know, because I don't want to be that. I never wanted to be that guy that got the leg up because of my brother. So that's why I use the name. And to be fair, I find it easy because, you know, ultimately, yeah, well, yeah. Do you know what? I also don't want people to buy tickets to an event and go, Romesh Ranganathan's brother might be funny, and then I'll be shit. And they go, yeah, this is bollocks, false advertising. So, yeah, it's easier to, but, you know, I'm sure we'll gig in the future together.
Have you ever done a gig with him?
I haven't, no.
Is that out of choice or just randomness? Like,
no, he asked me to do, ages ago, a long time ago, would you fancy doing tour support, like, for the work in progress, early on when I was going. And I never felt, again, my even with him, my whole thing was I want to be good enough to be asked, if you know what I mean. And I don't know whether that was how he was asking. But then I did a couple of tour support spots for other comedians, decent comedians. And I was like, okay, I feel a bit more comfortable in doing it now, so I would do it. So I think we'll gig, you know, I don't think it'll be long before we gig together, to be fair, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Look out for that one, people.
Yeah, totally.
One of them will be funny, one of them might not.
Yeah, totally. I might even do his set because I got his voice, so that might. Secretly, I rummaged through his bins for old like comedy books and that. Think, fucking hell, I'll take that material and all. That'd be great.
That's mad. Yeah. So yeah, obviously, like I said earlier, I watched 2 of your clips online.
Yeah.
One of them I was there at. We'll get to that in a sec. You done some Comedy Central one.
Yeah.
What was that like? Like, was that your first TV gig?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and it was so it's nerve wracking on the basis that you think if I screw this up, then well, I don't know whether they post it or edit it out. You know, could you imagine it being like everyone's doing 6 minutes, then yours is just like 30 seconds? I remember like going to it and thinking, yeah, it's gonna be posted online and all that.
Did it go on TV as well? Or?
No. It's Comedy Central Live it was just online.
Okay.
And I was thinking, okay, it'll be posted up. But I felt all right after I'd done loads of gigs beforehand, just tidying it up. Just running the same set. So you kind of go inside out. And even on the night, I still got a couple of bits that I'd got, you know, that I didn't want to do a certain way, and that happens. But I felt like I'd put myself in a good position and stuff. So I was.
It looked like it went down well, to be fair.
Yeah, I
liked it.
Ultimately, I wanted a great clip, and you know, and to me, once I'd got on to, sorry, I'm talking about the BBC thing with the Comedy Central one. I just wanted a decent clip so that I could, you know, obviously for promoters and stuff like that, it looks great, right? So so it was all right in the end.
So we met at BBC New Comedy Awards. It's like some comedy competition. You send in a video, you do like a heat thing. like a semi-final or a quarter, some sort of like 20 comedians perform, X amount get picked and distributed across different cities to do it. Let's start with the Heat thing.
Yeah.
The round before the TV round is what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
How was the Heat for you? How did
it was a really good one. But you sat with all these great comics like coming in. And I'm thinking, fucking hell, these people are good and that. And
hold on, how do you feel like as a comedian? Yeah, and I suppose this applies to, for example, the acting class I sometimes go to. It's like people take it into. It's called Go Hub. Yeah, big up Go Hub, sick acting class. But people take it in turns to do a scene, yeah?
Right.
So it's like everyone learns the same script. You kind of take it in turns to do the scene. But when you see people smashing it, sometimes you're like, oh, like, do I want to go next? But then it's like, if they don't really smash it, it's like, well, now it's on me to...
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Like,
when
you see people
anytime
smash it...
when I see somebody smash it, when they come off, I just whisper to the producer, I think they like kids. Just, you know what I mean? Watch that one. Nah. I thought, well, do you know what? Like, it's hard because when I was up the creek, you can hear the laughter upstairs or downstairs. So wherever you're standing, if you're hearing an act smash it, you're going, wow. You know what I mean? Like, and in my head, I'm just thinking, they've done what they're trying to do. All I can do is do my best. And in my mind, I just go, just focus on yourself as hard as it is, because you're up against these people. Because the problem is I like, you know what I mean? I get on with loads of comics. So you see them and they're lovely, and then they go kill it, and you're like, what can you do? You're in your mind, you're thinking, do you know what I mean? I'm happy for you. But equally, you're thinking, fuck, this is going to be hard for me. You know what I mean? But all I've done in that scenario ever, because that happens at gigs, doesn't it? You go to gigs and the person before you killed it, and you go, this is gonna be, a question. The audience are gonna be sitting there thinking, is this person as good as that or whatever? And you just got to suck it up and go, like I've been at gigs where like a musical act or somebody has come off and done something completely different.
Musical act always leave the stage with the crowd like in like the maddest buzz ever.
Yeah, I was doing a gig and the act before me like closed with a song that was brilliant, and everyone was just going mad. Welcome to the stage, me, this numpty, you just got nothing with him, just, you know what I mean? But again, I'm just like, just focus on what you're doing, and you know what I mean? You do your best by you, right? You know what I mean?
You know what? If I had a choice, like, would you rather come on someone like Smash It or Bomb? I'd 100% choose Smash It. I'd rather feed off your energy that you've done the hard work for,
totally,
than have to come on stage when it's like, fucking hell, this is gonna be long, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it is always a good feeling to turn an audience around, and like, obviously, it's not a great feeling for the comic who's just been on a dive if you go on and you manage to rip it. But
that's why you don't gig with Romesh.
totally. But like, if it ultimately, it's like, you think. Like if it's gone well and the energy's there, I'd always rather go in a room with energy or whatever. But if they haven't and you manage to turn it, because I like just through like doing tour support on that, because the audience aren't there to see you. I've got better or maybe thicker skinned is probably the better word, of like recognizing that the beginning might be slower, and then if you've won them by the end of it, then you've done your job. Do you know what I mean? It was a hard draft and you've got it done.
How did you find that whole experience? Because I suppose that was that like that. It was obviously a bit different to the Comedy Central Live one, right?
Yeah.
So how did you because obviously I went through it, but what's your opinion on it?
So I think that again, both of the times, I feel lucky that they managed to make it feel as much like a gig as it should have done, because like when you're any type of filming happens,
I've done one TV gig.
Oh,
Anything I'm going off is that.
Well, yeah. I'm making assumptions here. I have no idea. I've done two, right? But I was just glad it was like there weren't loads of cuts and and all sorts. It was for the most part it was just done as the show and this, that, and the other. Because all of that sort of stuff can lead you to be nervous. Do you know what I mean? Because they're going, right, you're going to stand here, then you're going to do this, that, and the other. You're like, okay. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking, I just want to go on stage and tell jokes, like. But I don't know. I think it was good. I was glad that I met you, and that like I had a laugh in the green room, and that helps. Because you think you're going on the stage and you've had a laugh already with your mates and that,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
was nice in that, you know. Plus they fed us. I can't really knock them.
I didn't know who was gonna be there until
No.
you get there.
Yeah,
innit?
totally. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, and as we were saying, I think we were saying this before we started recording, but like when you do comedy shows, sometimes you meet comics, yeah, and the conversation is literally, "Hi, what's your name? Oh, nice to meet you. You've been gigging a lot? Cool. You done this gig before?
Yeah.
Okay, cool." 18 minutes of just awkward silence. Gig
Yeah.
commences, and you're like, "Yeah."
That was literally how I met you.
But luckily,
Yeah.
the people, like, it was a decent vibe, innit? How did you
Yeah.
find like the show? So with the final recording, they did say this on the thing that like they might not be able to include like everyone's
Yeah.
whole set. I think like 3 of my jokes got cut in it. So if you've watched my set on the YouTube and you're like, yo, I'm desperate to see those 3 jokes, shout me in it. I'll tell you about a show and maybe I'll invite you. And I'll probably invite. I don't see why I
Maybe.
wouldn't.
Maybe I'll invite you. Yeah.
Like I got a waiting list.
Yeah.
Shout me for a show, you'll definitely get an invite. I'll pay you to come.
Yeah.
No, but they
Yeah.
cut some of my jokes in it. I guess for timing reasons.
I remember
they
you
did.
messaging me about that. Yeah. That's mad. I don't know. I couldn't actually. I didn't watch it. Like I couldn't watch it at first because it's just awkward, isn't it? Watching yourself, sort of. And then when I finally like watched it, I was like, I can't even remember whether they'd taken jokes out or not. I was like, well, it seems about 5, but what was it, 5 or 7? What was
It
it?
was 4, 5.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But then obviously, like, if you plan a 5-minute set, but you're getting bare laughs, it's gonna
Yeah.
go longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, obviously, show.
So what did you plan? A 3? I'm gonna kill this, mate.
Nah, I planned the 5 innit? And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
Like they ended it on a joke that the set doesn't even end on.
Oh,
There was,
that's
like
annoying.
2 more jokes, and
Yeah, that's
you know when like I can't remember what that particular set was, but obviously if you do a TV gig, you're putting your best foot forward.
Yeah.
It might have been some clever little callback. I was like, yo, they're gonna watch it. Be like, that lad's writing skills.
Yeah,
fucking hell.
yeah.
Wasn't to be, but no, it was a sick experience. You've done some tour support, yeah, like
Yeah.
you're saying. Like, what is that? I've chatted to a few people that have done it, and they've said, I don't know, they've said like different things. How have you found that?
It was a massive learning curve because, like, when I first did Sean's tour, Sean was great at like, briefing you as to kind of, what the ins and outs of it are really, and the truth of it is they don't want to see you. You know what I mean? So like, not they don't want to see you. That's like, but they're there to see.
It's like being at a concert and there's opening
Totally.
acts, and it's like that's the bit where you get a drink.
You're walking in, you're sort of looking around, talking to your mates. Where's Jimmy? You know what I mean? That
Yeah,
crap.
yeah.
So it's like that, but so like I said, I think you grow a thicker skin because you sort of go, okay, they're not totally on board yet, and then they start to walk.
So how long was your set? 10?
You would do 20 up the top.
20.
Yeah.
Did you ever bomb for 20 minutes straight?
Yeah. It was great. It's just locked in there in the memory. Yeah, you just like, ultimately, even Sean was like, he took the pressure off of it. He was like, listen, if you can get like a big way at the end of it, right? A bit, a close, no matter, even if it's gone badly and you get a thing, he goes, you've done your job. It's fine by me, right? And he goes, so anything after that is a bonus. So just think of that. And I was like, okay, cool. And then for the most part, I managed to get that. So, but it was good. It was great learning curve, man.
You just got to get all hacked just to get a good ending. Like, so give me a cheer if you're not racist.
yeah, totally. No one cheered. Oh, right, that explained it then.
You go back to showing that fucking hell, did
Yeah.
Smashed it.
Yeah.
So, we was talking about gong shows, yeah?
Yeah.
One time at Blackout, this guy was bombing so hard and he left mid-set. Like, he just said, oh, you know what, fuck this, and left. And he didn't even storm out. He just stormed to the back of the room and sat down and watched everyone else.
Oh, my God. Oh,
He was, it was just, nothing was landing. It was like stone cold. I think he was one of them comedians where he was saying all this, like, when you just say offensive stuff just to be offensive and you think it's funny, but it's really just like, you're just saying this just for the sake of it. There's no skill or joke there. It's literally just you offending people.
Yeah, totally.
And it's not funny.
Yeah, totally. It's just like, But I love watching comedians like that. I just love watching them die. I'm like, oh, that is bad.
But that guy is made of sterner stuff. to just go to the back of the room and still sit there. And you would think they'd just storm out.
Yeah.
No,
Totally.
not him.
Mate, I watched an act quit on stage, right?
Quit?
Yeah, he's quit comedy on stage.
Quit.
Just started going, oh, you know, like those jokes used to go well and this, that, and the other. And just started saying, all like, just basically quitting, but just telling his life story about it. And I was like, can you hurry up, mate? I've got a double. And I don't hear your shit. If you're quitting, decide. Do it. It's fucking taking ages.
Have you ever thought about quitting?
Yeah, every day. I mean, it's hard, isn't it? It's like sometimes you do just sit there and go, "What the fuck am I doing?" Do you know what I mean? Like when you're traipsing up and down the country, and like I've done like
I got this gig in Crawley coming up.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, totally.
It might evoke a similar. No, big up that gig. I haven't done it yet, but
yeah, mate. Nah, I'm telling you, I like sometimes you do so, like, you know, because all of us are working our day jobs and doing it on the side, and you know, like. It's like a out of control hobby to a certain degree, and like you know, like I've started to manage my gigs a lot better now. But when I first started, you would get any stage time you could, and I used to like be getting the train back, and you're like midweek, and you're like, oh my god, I'm exhausted, and this, that, and the other. And then through lockdown, that's when I started managing my gigs a bit better. Now I'm like, I'm a bit better in. Well, firstly, I'm getting
managing
paid now.
what Zoom
yeah, totally. But now I actually go, right, I'm going to do, you know, I pretty much gig at the weekend, and then I try and do a decent new material in the week, and normally I can sort of manage it so I get home still at a decent time, because I've got a family and kids and, you know, and a day job. So
yeah.
But
that's what I was gonna lead on to. Like it's like sometimes you travel, and it's like, what are the things that, like, because for me it's like when you travel, I done a gig. Yeah, I like NFL, innit?
Yeah.
So NFL Sundays, there's a show called Red Zone. It's like Gillette Soccer Saturday,
right, yeah.
But they just show highlights, and there's no ads for 7 hours. It's the best show on earth.
Wow, yeah.
I literally like form my weekends around that. I love it so much. I've done a gig on a Sunday. Red Zone was on. I was like, fuck it. You know, you got to work hard. Bro, traveled all this way, get there. No one's there. Like, there's 2 other comics and this, like, old man promoter who was kind of, like, just weird and a bit rude.
Yeah.
And then he grabbed these other, like, old people from upstairs, and I'm there, like, telling these jokes about therapy. To be fair...
Where was this gig?
Camden.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I do. Actually, I do, yeah.
And for me,
I just wanted to know. That was all I was thinking. As
you just want to know the name, innit?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, totally. Yeah. Who is that? Yeah.
But no, that what are the things that, like, what are the things you hate, like, about? Like, what are the not hate, but like
Pet peeves.
Oh no, a better way of saying it is, what are some of the things of comedy that, like, you perhaps don't like or demotivates you that might not be so obvious to the people that don't know?
It is the travel, because I mean, your travel is like 90% of what you're doing, isn't it? I mean, you're on stage for like 20 minutes. I've driven to bloody Norwich, or, you know, like, and done 20 minutes and then driven back, and you're like, I've done like a 7-hour trip. I've been on stage for like 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And
for £4 and a mock.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's even worse if you die driving back just crying. But yeah, it's that. I mean, like, but even that, if you've had a good gig, I can still get back and sort of feel like, do you know what I mean? I'm right about it. But you always sit there. Yeah, there's so many times where you can sit there and just question, like, what am I doing, man? Do you know what I mean?
You ever just walked into a gig and be like, fuck it, let's just get this over with?
Oh, totally. I remember I was like moving house or something, and I'd gone to and I couldn't pull this gig because it was like early on. And you know, when you're like new, you're like, yes, I would like your gig in this cafe that fucking no one's going to turn up at. And so I was like, you know, just didn't want to pull gigs. And so I was like, oh, can't you just pull this gig? And I was like, no, I've got to go. I don't want to be known on the circuit as the guy who pulls gigs, even though it was like a shit gig, right? And
was that one in Camden, isn't it?
So I'd driven down to this gig. I won't tell you where, right? Nondescript town, right? And I got there, and there was like 3 people there, right? And it was a couple and like their dad or something, right? And I walked in, and the promoter's gone, oh, show must go on. I was like, it doesn't always have to. I mean, you could just knock this shit on the head, because this is bollocks, right? And then the first act goes on, right? He gets heckled by this old man, right? And he's so new, he just does his set louder. because he doesn't know. He hasn't got the skill set yet. So it was totally awkward. So when I went up, I just started arguing with this old bloke, right? And we just basically, they're family, so they're all kicking off at me. And I was having this argument. I'm like, oh, fuck this. And I put the mic in and just walked out. I was like, I ain't coming back to this shit. Oh, this is bollocks. And just left. And, you know, that's the frustrating one is if you go to a gig, because I don't think people recognise as much that as a comedian, you're giving your time. As much as, you know, every comedian that goes to a gig is trying their best. Like, it doesn't matter whether they've died or whatever. They are giving it their best. No one turns up the gig wanting to die.
Bro, that's such a good point. Like, that can be applied. Even when I watch a bad movie, I sit and think, well, they didn't sit there and think, let's make a 4 out of 10. Like, they probably gave it their best in somewhere along the way. 100%. So I hear you on that, because I've seen, obviously you gig a lot, you see comedians, some do well, some not so. But when I see people coming back and they're sticking at it, I respect it. Or even if they've gone up and it ain't worked, I respect it, because it's so easy to not try. Or to be like, oh, that was a bit of a shit gig, I'm retiring. Like, no, like, if you're still at it and you've given it a go, whether it goes well or not, like, that's half the battle. Like, turning up.
Totally.
Random.
Because I also, like, I think, you know, so you get, like, a lot of the sort of open mic bringer gigs that, like, I went to early on were great people and all that. There was a few that just didn't respect the fact you're giving your time. Do you know what I mean? So, like, to me, I'm like, if a promoter hasn't got an audience there and they're like, oh, well, you sit there, you know, because we want to make up the audience. I'm like, well, what? I want to be your audience and the act. Like, how's that work? Like, I've given my time. I've driven down here. It's cost me money, and I've given my time to do something. You got to do your end of the bargain. That's why we're all here. Do you know what I mean? So that was frustrating at the start. But
what do you feel about that? Because obviously, like, you're probably like way past that, but there'll be like I'd say, what would you describe yourself as? Like a pro comic?
No, I don't. I'm getting pro gigs, but I don't know. Maybe because I've still got the day job. I tend to.
You know what? I don't even know. Like, first of all, I don't know what a pro comic like. I guess it's if your sole income's
in my head. That's what it is. Yeah.
But there's also situations where I know bare comics who not in that position, but they do sick gigs at amazing places.
Because technically, then you could live with your mum and go, I'm a pro comic.
Well, it's weird though. But
it's my sole income. I get £4 a week, and I'm killing it. So.
But comedians have one idea. Yeah, I done a gig the other day. It went well, and they were like, "Oh, what's your Instagram?" I showed it to them. And obviously I got some followers on there and a blue tick, and they're like, "Right, you're really professional, aren't you?"
Yeah.
Like, no, I just done a Bring a gig last night.
I had to call upon my followers. Anyone want to turn up?
So obviously you're 40, innit?
Yeah.
Not in that. I do.
What's your fucking problem, dude?
I knew as soon as I said that.
You just looked at me and went, "You're 40." What happened, man? Was there a fire?
Nah, I knew as soon as sometimes I just deliver things bluntly.
Yeah, I see that.
It was to set up what I would hope would be an interesting question.
Yeah.
Like,
what's it feel like being 40? Is that the question? How'd you even get up them stairs? Yeah.
No, this actually plays into the fact you're 40.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So the question was, like, do you feel like comedians get better? I think the answer is obvious, but I'm more interested in the why.
Yeah.
I personally feel like, and I'm sure a lot of other people do as well, like, comedians get better with age, because obviously the more stuff you've been through and you can talk about, and the more comfortable you are talking about things when you were a bit younger. Yeah. Like, for example, I'm 28. What's the month? February.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still 28. I'm 28, and it's like...
Surely you'd have known if you had your birthday.
Nah, because it's in April, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I'm 28, and obviously I make some jokes about therapy and stuff. And like, I'm not like an old man, but if that was going on at an earlier period of my life, I'd be like, nah, I ain't talking about that. Like, but then you grow a bit more comfortable with what you've been through and who you are and stuff. Yeah. And you're a bit more willing. But what's your take on that as, you know, a pensioner?
Yeah, cheers, mate. I feel like that's down. I'm getting that from more so time served on the circuit. In my mind, Like, because you know when you start, you got your 5 and it's got to be, you know, you just you're dragging anything that you essentially go to a gig and you've dragged anything funny and stuck it together, and it could be a mishmash of whatever the hell it was. No one gives a shit if a joke. A joke following another joke is a completely different topic, has no sense to it. It's just bam, 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 you know? And so and then you move to a 10 and that's a similar sort of thing. And then as you move up with doing longer sets, you recognise that actually there's things I do want to talk about, or I can talk about, rather than just dragging the funny things that come up in conversation that you force into a set. So now I feel like just from gigging more that I sort of feel like I want to talk about certain things, and even if they're not funny at this point, make them funny rather than finding things that are funny and mashing them into a set, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what, you were like dying to cuss your kids? You were like,
well, no, I mean that bit for the most part with their bit, like I do that bit about the hype man bit. That was written. That was them. That was literally an off the cuff comment about the way they were.
That's a good. Go check his website. What's your website?
Dinesh Nathan.
Check that because it's got the clear. It's a sick joke. Go check that.
Yeah. So, and that was just in the car, and it was just a throwaway comment that I said to him when my daughter was doing it, right? And so now they need to come up with more material, basically. Otherwise, I am stuffed, mate. You will not see me on the circuit. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, just throwing it back, because I didn't even know this till you said it, or you might have said it before, but. You said you're like a trained pilot. You mentioned this before, and you said you're a trained pilot. It's like you're also Asian, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then obviously I've seen your mum on TV, so I'm guessing it's not like some kind of like a bit more like liberal and loose with like the expectations and the telling you what to do and you must do this, be a doctor, be a dentist.
Yeah.
Like, anything creative, I'm just gonna look at you like you're absolute trash.
Yeah,
but like
totally.
with this whole thing of like I'm a pilot. Pilots make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Instead, let me drive to Norwich to make 10 quid.
Yeah.
Does that ever was that ever a thing for you? Because you're Asian and a lot of Asian people, they do kind of have this pressure from their parents of like, me personally, I never felt that, but I know a lot of people and I know they feel that. It's like, I only became a doctor because like, that's what my mum said I had to do or whatever.
Yeah, well, so my parents were like that. So like what happened was we were at a really decent school, and then my dad lost everything essentially, right? And we got pulled out of these schools, like, and for he went away, he went to prison and all sorts of bits and pieces. And so for that period, my mum was a single mum, and I think my mum didn't really know what to tell us to do or what to sort of suggest we do. So all she would say is go study, do go study, go to uni, do all that. And that was all her thing, just, and so we did all that. We went to school, I went to school, college, uni, and I just remember coming out of it, getting a job. And in my head, I felt like that whole education piece and the way that your parents teach you is that you go and do that and then you'll get a job and you'll be happy and then you carry on. And I remember getting into my first job and just going, what is this? Like, is this really what I'm going to do with the rest of my life? Do you know what I mean? And then at the time, and again, it's so hard, isn't it, to know what you really want to do or where your strengths really lie, or what because some people fall into them careers that their personality complements and it just fits and it just, so they blow up, it goes well, or, some people have to work at it or whatever. But, so at the time I remember graduating and just not sort of being happy with, I always wanted more. And I think I'll always have that in me, of this whole thing to do more and get, and try and succeed in different things, because I think it's just the way I'm wired. I think my dad was a workaholic, my brother's a workaholic, I'm the same, so I don't know, it's odd. But I don't think my dad was like, when my dad was still alive when my brother was starting comedy, and it was it was almost to a certain degree. My brother did his masters and all sorts, right? So he had proven himself on the education side of things. So I think my parents were just incredibly proud of the fact that he's doing this thing. They loved it that he did it, so
what, comedy or the master?
Comedy. I think it's because, what can you say? I've gone and got educated. I've got my education. You pushed me to do that. I've got that. And now I'm doing this. And so what can I do? He's a fully grown man at this point to say, I know, I'm sure my mum would still hit us, but I don't give a shit that you're 25. So, yeah.
So how do you balance it all? Because obviously you got kids, you got a day job.
Yeah.
You're obviously doing a lot of gigs and stuff. Like, how do you balance all that?
My kids really suffer, man. I haven't seen them in months. I'm just hoping they're all right. It's really hard. It is really hard. I think after lockdown, managing my gigs better was...
What does that mean, though? Like, you don't do shit gigs or what? Like...
So I pretty much gig Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then if there's a new material night that I think that is really good or that, you know, I know will have people there, it's less of a gamble, so I'll go and do that. And that and to be fair, all it meant that was that I wasn't gigging, you know, during the week, because I did, you know, because when I first started the first year, I recognised that I couldn't keep it up like that, because, you know, I was tired and stuff like that, because I had a day job and I wanted to be good at my day job still anyway, you know. So, and that's the case now, you know, so because it is, you know, obviously my day job is what gives me, you know, it looks after my kids and my lifestyle and stuff. So I never want to jeopardise that. So, you know, I've managed my gigs around that as much as I want to.
Dinesh's kids, are you hearing this?
Yeah, totally. The shit I do for you.
Next time he tries to turn around and say, well, these jokes are paying the food. He's like, well, no, actually, it's that little day job.
Yeah, totally.
Delete it.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, you know, like I just have managed them better now, so I'm a lot better at managing it. And
I hear you on that, because it's like when you first start, it's kind of like a buzz. Like,
oh, totally. Yeah.
You're happy to just do anything and
Yeah,
everything.
totally. Yeah.
It's so new, and it's like, but then you kind of do it a bit more, and you're like, okay, cool, I can be a bit more strategic.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are good nights to try out new stuff. These are nights where I might want to do a like more pro or semi-pro stuff.
Well, because that's the thing. If you turn up to a gig and there's like 3 or 4 people there, what are you getting out of it? Yeah, I've given up my evening, and then I've got to work tomorrow on the back of having to travel here and do this gig. Do you know what I mean? So now, I can't remember the last time, touch wood again, where I've turned up at an open mic, there hasn't been an audience. Do you know what I mean? Or a decent audience. What's
decent? How many?
Even if there's 20, I'm good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah. 20 non-bringers.
20 non-bringers, mate. Yeah, 20 non-bringers for sure. But like, you know, I remember doing there was a promoter who does quite a few gigs, and he was doing a new gig, and I went to go do that gig, and there was about 8 people, and that's the first time, and that was a couple of years ago, but that was the first time in ages. I got there and I thought, oh my god, this is gonna be rough. Do you know what I mean? So it just ended up with chit chat, and I sort of left, and I just sort of in my head I'm thinking, what did I get out of that? Because you know, at this time you're getting paid, but at the same time you're still like, I wanted to do something with some new material. I wanted to tweak something. I wanted to do this. Do you know what I mean? You want to enjoy it, because then they enjoy it, right?
So how'd you go from like being like doing these? Like, how'd you get to a point where you get like paid stuff? Because I've had a few, like, for me, it's not like I get like loads and loads of paid gigs, but the more I've been doing it, slowly but surely, and thankfully and gratefully, keep booking me, please.
Yeah.
But slowly but surely, they're starting to like trickle in from random little places. But like, how have you found that? How'd you go from to get those regular paid spots?
So I like when I started jumping on the pro middles, and the mad thing is, when I started doing the pro middles,
the middle 10.
Yeah, the middle 10.
So for the non-comedy, like, it's usually like pro act does 20 minutes at the start, 2 middle people do 10-minute sets, another pro act closes with 20 minutes, right?
Yeah. So then I stepped up to try and do these sort of like, you know, the middle spots and that. And 2 things. One thing was I recognise how good the open and closers are, because I'm like, bloody hell, man. Do you know what I mean? When you start stepping up to that, it's a different arena, because you're so used to doing open mics, and you get to a point where you'll be pretty good in comparison to, because they're all newer, right? So you've got experience essentially. Started doing the middle pro gigs. And then the more you drum them out, like, it's sort of waterfalls, you know, like you get other promoters that will see you, other acts on the bill will go, oh, I thought that was really good, come and do my gig. And then I was lucky enough to have, like, there was about 4 or 5 London promoters or around the southeast that when I did the tryout spots for them, they just gave me a list of dates after that. And to this day, touch wood, I still gig with all of it, or for all of them, and they've always been really good to me. Like, I would say, like, look, I don't want to, if I shout them out on here, then they'll get a shitload more open micers, wouldn't they? Just like, can you get me a gig? But like,
give me their details after this.
Yeah, 100%, because they're great promoters, and there's a handful of them that have been great to me. So yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so like, what's coming next from you? What's next from?
I want to do more on get the social media really going. So I'm like, I was doing a car one ages ago. I got like this deal where I was doing like reviewing vehicles and like that was I love cars and stuff, so it was really good to do. And then I got a mate of mine who I want to do a podcast with, who's batshit mental, and his name's Ben Robson, right? And I wanted to do we're planning on doing a podcast together. Because we're very different people, but we get on really well. So he's in one of the videos on YouTube. Actually, it's called at the time it's called Comedy Chauffeur, and we just got him in to like review a car, and we just got on really well. So like we want to do more of that. So probably the podcast and more on social media like TikTok really.
Where can people find you? Where can they follow you up, bro?
Dinesh Nathan comedian .co.uk, I think it is. Really should.
This guy's like, I want to do more on socials, but here, take my website.
Yeah, it's a guess. Just see.
That's how you know he's like 46 because he's like, here's my website.
43, mother. It's not even 43. It's 42.
That's not in his website.
Yeah, do you know what? I think it's DineshNathan.co.uk. Or .com. Could be one of the two.
Here's a floppy
try
disk
both.
with my
If you're
job.
really that keen, if you give up after fucking one try, then whatever. All right. But yeah, it's one of those two. Yeah, and that's all the live dates and all that on there. Yeah.
What about your socials though?
Dinesh Nathan comedian on Instagram and the same on TikTok as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there we have it. Episode 2, the AJ Rose Show. Still not too sure how to close these things out. Yeah, keep helping me rank up that random chart. I don't, you know how random this chart is, yeah? I tried to look for the chart that they said I ranked in. I can't even find it. Literally, it was some random email that I didn't even sign up for. It could be a prank. Like they could be listening to this right now. Like we fucking got it. We got it. Like, and doing a little TikTok like about me getting pranked. But yeah, anyway, help me climb up them charts. If you like the podcast. Please rate it 5 stars. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow me on social media. Yeah, that's it, bro.
That was good fun, mate.